Okay, so here we are again. What we plan to cover tonight, and not Mark's tools in my route app, so that'll be next week. So look forward to that. What we think will be really useful and helpful for everybody is Steve and I are going to go surfing on the COG website and kind of wind the clock back. We're going to go back to the national in I don't know, Pennsylvania maybe for 2019. And there's I was just poking around and I just saw some routes that one of the people attending the rally put together. His name's Jeff, and he's a real nice guy, and he put these routes up and said, hey, let's ride these routes. So when I first started doing this, I would find people's routes and I would go to like a spring fling or a fall fling or a rally, and I would just take the route at its word and I would download it, and then I would run the route, and then inevitably something would get screwed up. And I'm not even saying it was the person didn't do a good job. It's just maybe I should have done a little bit of homework and at least loaded the route, see where it goes, make sure it's recalculated to my map. So that's the challenge I put forth to Steve tonight. We're going to actually walk you through finding a route, loading the route, zooming in on the different turns, the waypoints, how many miles, how long it takes. Is this shaping point correct, or is it, headed off a dirt road? All the common mistakes that happen. And we feel like once you see how to do that, it'll help you tremendously if you're ever going to a rally or using somebody else's routes. And then we're going to follow up, then Steve will demonstrate how to then, recalculate that route and then send it to his XT and then load it. So that's the agenda for tonight. I think it's a real world thing. And just as a disclaimer, Steve and I have not looked at these routes. So we're going to be just like everybody else. We're just going to trust that somebody spent some time and made a route and it's a good one to run. We're not just going to show up and run it. So Steve, take her away.
Okie dokie. All right, you're gonna have to monitor message and stuff because I'm not gonna see any Zoom on my screen. But,
I'm doing it.
I just need to get just to get at my controls and share my screen. Okay. In my screen share, is all you see is the map, or do you see the videos up there as well?
Well, I see your map, and then I have the.
Yeah, everybody has they just see the one that they see themselves, but they don't see the whole gallery of photos, right? Of images. Okay.
I just see the map.
I think that's a personal choice.
Yeah.
People can choose
Okay,
that
that's
as
fine.
an option.
All right, so I'm going to bring up my browser here, and I'm already on the page that Steve linked me to, which is the National Rally page, Riding Routes. And we scroll down, and here are the routes that Jeff posted up. So somebody pick one. We'll pick one and we'll download it. So somebody shout out one of these 4 routes to use. Jeff, do you have a preference? One that's complicated more than others?
How about Scenic Vista from LaPorte?
Scenic Vista from LaPorte. All right, so I'm just going to click on it. We're going to go into a download. I'm just
Jeff, are these actually your routes that you made up? I'm just curious. Or you just have them?
I think I just unmuted my mic. Those are not my routes that I made up. I got those from Jason from I believe a previous national somewhere in PA. And I just tried to convert them to start at the Gentry and return there. And, it was kind of I was just sitting there playing around with them and then put them back up so that in plenty of time that other people could have massaged them to make them the way they wanted them.
Okay, well, that's perfect then, because that's a real world thing.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing that. And, we'll see what it looks like, and we'll try to make it so it runs when you actually try to use it on the day you want to ride.
Now, for that
So a little
national,
homework preview.
yeah, for that national, I didn't actually run any of those routes exactly the way they were. I created other routes that I didn't post to go to the specific points of interest that I
Fine.
wanted to see.
That's fine. I mean, I don't think it matters that you didn't write it. It's just a route that we're gonna work with, just like if, we downloaded it and this is the one we're going to write. So that's how we're treating this.
Good, good. And
Good.
this is good for me to learn how to do this, because that was one of my first things, of trying to take somebody else's thing and move it around a little bit.
Okay. All right. So I clicked on it on the forum. It came up that it wants to save it. I'm going to be saving it to my downloads folder within Windows. This is a typical, common folder that's within Windows. I tend to download all my stuff there, and then I'll move it out of there if I want to save it for long term. But wherever you download it to, remember what your path is here, where it's going, so that you'll know where to import it from. So just going to save it there. I don't need the browse anymore. So we're going to come over here to Basecamp. The first thing, I need a place to put the GPX file. And when we import GPX files into Basecamp, where do they go?
Steve, I think you need to, okay, thank you. You
What's that?
need to minimize. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay. All right, so when we import GPX files into Basecamp, where do they go? What container do they go into? What's it called? Somebody could speak up. It's okay. Crickets? All right, it's called a list. All right, so
Yeah.
GPX files and waypoints all need to be in a list. So I'm going to come here to the seminar folder that I created, and I am going to right click on that and say new list. Here's my new list, and call this March 3. So now I've got March 3 highlighted, as opposed to having like another one highlighted. I'm going to highlight that. Then I'm going to come up here and say File, Import into March 3. I'm going to use my browser. Now the last place I went was Downloads. So, but if I wasn't in Downloads, I would need to navigate the Downloads on here, right? And then in Downloads, I'm going to click on the GPX file that I previously saved coming down from the forum. Open it. It'll import in, and there's the route in our list. Now, with this route loaded, there are actually no waypoints that came with this. So this is just a route. And we'll open it up, and we'll see that what they did was they created this. They created a shaping point LaPorte. It's and then it just ends here at this very last one, this 5692 US 220. So there are no actual waypoints. Everything's a shaping point, and it looks like, yeah. So it looks like they'll all announce, right? The way it's a setup, because you see none of them are grayed out. So everything here is going to announce and act like a waypoint, even though there's no waypoints in the list that we could pick from or download independently, which is fine. So we're going to start and take a look at this, and I'll show you how I'll do this. So I'm going to just shrink this down a bit. Get it off to the side. And what I like,
One of the first things though, Steve, you want to kind of see how far is it? Maybe you don't want to ride 25 miles. Maybe it's too short, or maybe it's 500 miles. And maybe that's too long. So
if we go into directions, since I have not calculated this yet, and that's always a good thing to do sometimes, but right here, if you go to route directions, you'll see what the total distance is, and it's 174 miles. Now, I'm gonna make sure that I have, before I'm gonna make sure I have the correct map loaded, good.
The mileage always shows at the bottom of the screen too, Steve.
I know it's up here because I just wanted to pick on one that I know both in Mac, so thanks, Kevin. I didn't know if that was in the Mac or not. Okay, so I'm just gonna click recalculate, and I'm gonna, while I click recalculate, I'm going to visually watch the screen and see if there's any significant changes. And it still looks pretty much the same. There's a couple of these little blips like here and here and here that were there before, and it's following pretty much the same route. So I tend, when I'm checking it out, I tend to put it into center map mode. So then when I click on a point, it will center the map on that and zoom in. So there's our first point. And since most of the issues happen, with shaping points or waypoints, this brings us, jumps us right to the next one. Now we can see on the screen that there's something off right here, right? But I'll just show you how this works. If I jump down to the next one. Okay.
It's
So
on the way back.
it's on the way back, right? So now we see it jumped to the next one and said, well, that is on the way back, which still isn't a good thing, but we'll cover that on the way back. All right. So this one of the things that I want to point out, I don't necessarily have this problem. Steve has seen this problem, especially if it's using a waypoint here instead of a shaping point, where he's found that it works best to put the waypoints after the turn. And it may be because of his GPS model. If he put that waypoint right here and he was trying to get to it, it wouldn't announce it if he was sitting here. So by putting it after the turn, it will actually tell him he needs to turn down this road, and then it'll announce it over here. Did I say that right,
Steve, just
Steve?
as a point of clarity, yeah, it's not so much it doesn't announce, but it says you arrived at your waypoint. And if you happen to be stopped at a stop sign or a red light, you're at your waypoint, but you haven't gone far enough where it starts to pick up the next leg of your trip. So you can be left with, do I go straight? Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Okay. So if you place that waypoint beyond the turn, then it makes you turn left and then announces the waypoint.
So we'll just go down. Yeah, the first thing I do is I look at all the waypoints, right? And make sure that they are on the road, since somebody could have built this with a different version map, and a via point or a waypoint could be way off the road, and that won't work well for me. So far, so good. And as I said, I'm just going to quickly check all of these points without really looking at the overall route. I'll go back and do that. So
I'm giving bonus points for all those shaping points being after the turn. So
this is kind of weird.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know what's here, but this is where he's stopping, and it looks like now he's doubling back. And we'll take a look at this in the grand scheme of things. But so far, yeah, all the waypoints are right smack on a road. This is good. Awesome. Good. See, now that one's right at the intersection. Again, that may cause problems, as what Steve was explaining. So we'll go back and look at these as we go through the route itself. I just want to really look at some of that one. So, you can see how that one's off the route a little bit. So what I would do is I'm going to go up here and grab the move tool, and I'm just going to get it right there on the road. And I got to find out where I was. All right. So that, when they dropped the via, he actually dropped it where there's a another point of interest, and it picked up that point of interest, which is unless he wanted to go into Ricketts Glen State Park, who knows? But if that wasn't desired, I would have removed that from the route and just dropped a shaping point a little bit further. But not having any write-up on this, he may want to stop there. Maybe there's a parking lot or a vista. Good, good. Again, these are pretty good.
Oh.
And that's the end right there. All right, so let's zoom out and we'll follow this. Oh, that's not what I wanted.
So Steve, what do you think it is with that little leg that's beyond 220 there? Is
Here,
that
right here.
misplaced or where the back where 220 was?
Right here,
There's
right
a
here.
little. No, not that one. Go back to,
At the
there
end,
was just a little,
the
yeah, a
last,
little segment there.
That one, where's the end?
Yeah,
looks like an error.
Oh, right here, right here. That one?
yeah, what do you think? What do you think that one is about? That one right there.
Probably where he
That
just.
to me looks like a screw up.
No, you know what I suspect is, and I have no idea, same reason, I have no idea where he started it here. It looks like he just wanted, here's what I suspect. Again, this is totally speculation. I suspect that he was going to be coming on 42. And he was going to begin his ride as he's riding on 42 coming in this direction. He was going to do the loop and he was going to go home on 220 this way. So he ended it right there on 220. That's what I speculate.
Okay.
I-
Okay.
I try to pick clear, defined waypoints to start and end, a gas station, a deli, something, because I may be meeting other people and I'm not just going to pick some random spot on a road. And even when I end, I want a place where we could stop. People could take a break, chit chat about the ride, maybe a gas station so they could fuel up before they go home. So pick your start and end waypoints smartly, right?
Right.
Places to meet, places to end, places with gas or food, whatever.
Well, here's a challenge for you, Steve. Why don't we pick a different place to start from, since that does look a little squirrely? And again, we're trying to pick somebody's route and make it for our own use. So maybe
Okay.
pick a point of interest there or something.
Right. So how about this LaPorte General Store that looks like it has fuel?
Hey, Steve,
Okay.
Yes.
I think with that one, I didn't put a direction to and from the Gentry because it started at the town of LaPorte for the route that I started with that was given to me. So I just got you to LaPorte one way and started it there and then ended it once we got back to LaPorte. And you're probably right. I probably was going to come over on 42 and then return on 220.
Okay. No big
So-
deal.
So,
See-
I mean, and you know, I didn't go, like I said, I didn't go back through these, and it's great that you're critiquing them because it is showing me what I could have done to have made it more efficient for where everybody was starting from.
But, and this is just something to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
and Jeff, just so you know, we didn't intend to critique you, so it's kind of interesting that the random one that we chose is one that you posted
Yeah.
there. So we'll just
Well, and I
go
don't-
with it.
I don't know if any of them I moved all the way back over to the Gentry. I know these came to me and I don't know that they were in GPX format. I think they were maybe in Google Maps. And I looked at Google Maps and recreated them in Basecamp to put them into GPX because I didn't know any other way
Yeah.
at that point.
No, it's not a big deal. Just keep in mind, if this was going to be a ride you were doing by yourself, what you have here is fine. If you're having other people meet you, they're not going to meet you in the middle of that road, right?
Correct.
That's all we're saying. So it's,
Absolutely.
all right, so let's, as Steve said, let's use this out as an opportunity. So we have this general store and what supposedly a gas station. And if we right click on it, it'll say new waypoint. There's other ways to do this. You could left click on this, bring up information, what it is, and then just click on the three dots. And then we also have create waypoint here. So just do that. Now I have a waypoint. the waypoint now shows up down here in my list. I can open up that waypoint. I can make it a gas station just so that I could use it at another time and know that it's a gas station. Just gotta find it. And now I open up my route. And I'm gonna come right to the beginning of the route. I'm gonna click the insert waypoint. Insert, remember, insert means that it's typically gonna add it above whatever the selected item is. So if I'm correct, this should insert the gas station above Laporte. And there you go. I don't need this one anymore, so I'm gonna highlight it and click delete. So now I'm starting from the gas station, and I'm just gonna let it recalculate so I could see it, the route, and we're gonna then examine the route and follow it. Now, I know that it's gonna leave here, it's gonna come up this way, and by the arrows, I know we're heading up this way. And this is how we traced it out before. So I'm just gonna follow this route and look for it to see if it does anything funky. Because sometimes even though if we take a look, we could see the vias are pretty far apart. And then one way you could see how far the vias or shaping points are is if you go into insert mode, as I showed before. When you're in insert mode, if you hover the insert tool over, we could see how long the segments are in between shaping points. And when you start getting long ones like this, well, it may not seem long when there's a lot of other roads around. The base camp could route what it thinks is a faster way, right? So look at that one. There's a long leg, right? There's another one, right? So these are the ones that I would really, as I'm going around, I'll make sure I focus on those. All right, so, and hopefully we'll find something that's a mistake we could show. So it's coming down here. Looks like the route brought us inside the park. It's just stopping here. So whatever this is, I mean, there's zoom in is really no reference to anything. It's not like there's a restroom facility or anything. It's so whoever created it just wanted to go that far. Maybe they know it. The entrance and exit look okay. So it's coming in. There's no other way out, in or out. So it's just doubling back, coming back up this way. This is all good. Sometimes if MapSource has a side road, and I don't see one here, we'll see if I can find one. Like just for instance, here, there's just say MapSource thought it was faster to come around here and then come back through here. It may route through here. And we don't want to go on this side road. What we need to do is put a shaping point in here to put it back on this main road. So that's the stuff I'm looking for now. Good. And I'm just using the hand tool, which is the pan tool right here. And by left clicking, it clenches it and it allows me to drag it wherever I want. So I'm just using this feature to scan the route. So good. Looks good. And
This is a great ride. I'm really wanting to ride my motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well,
It's
you
gonna be
know,
awesome.
well, I know a few people who are going to be in Williamsport come middle of May for the spring fling.
Yeah. There you go. Advertising.
I may have to I may have to try this. Okay. Look here and see. All right, so it looks like it's from here, it's coming down here. All right, so here's a perfect example, right? So what it's doing is the route's coming down here, going all the way down here, coming to the lake or the pond, and then it's doubling back. But notice here, it's coming in this way, but going out this way. Do we want to do that? Do we not want to do this? Just for the sake of demonstrating a correction, somebody tell me which route do we want to keep? The top one or the bottom one? Which road? Which road do we want to use, top or bottom?
I'll vote the bottom because it has woods next to it. It's
Got
probably
it.
more scenic.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move this top one so that it traces over this. So what we need is the insert tool. We're gonna grab this segment by highlighting it and clicking on it. And we're just gonna bring down here and add a via on this road. And that just forced both the coming and going routes. I just click escape to get out of that mode. So now both the route going down to that pond and coming back are following that road. Right, so that's a correction right there. I'm gonna go back to the pan tool. I always go back to the pan tool because I find it a lot easier to drag this way than using the tools at the edge. And also, if I erroneously click here with this tool, it doesn't drop a waypoint. It doesn't mess up my route. This is a benign tool other than moving the screen.
Hey, Steve,
Yes,
can you use the arrows with the hand tool? Arrows on your keyboard?
you can.
That's what I thought. Okay, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. All right.
Yep,
I was
but
just wondering.
it's okay, but
It's a bit glitchy,
my-
man.
it's it's left, right, up, down, where I can move a whole lot faster in any direction I want with the mouse. So
Okay.
I always have my right hand, or whatever your dominant hand is, right on the mouse. I'm always using it. The only time I'm over to the keyboard is if I have to type in the name of something.
Honestly, couldn't remember. That's why I asked.
No, that's fine. It's a good question because other people may not like using the mouse. All right, so this is good. I just want to zoom in. The line looked a little thick here, so I wasn't sure. So I wanted to zoom in, make sure that it didn't go off track. And I could zoom out to move it a little faster. And then if I see something odd, that looks good. But here, see, I'll always zoom in there. And it's just a little jog as it's going onto the road. Coming around, looking good. Wow, this actually is a fairly well-made route. There we go. What's this? Oh, there we go. Look at this. That's not what we want. Right? We want it to stay on Route 6. Unless there's something up here, but there's no shaping point that puts it up here. The shaping point is here, and the one previous is way back there somewhere. So this is another correction we're gonna make. So grab the insert tool, that's our route. We're gonna highlight, click on it, and I double click there. Mistake. I'm gonna grab it.
Steve,
Yes.
that's a situation where you may want to go to Google Maps because you may not be able to make that right turn from 6 onto that other route.
Might be an underpass.
It might be an
Oh,
underpass.
well, that's a good point. So let's take a look at that. Well, do you know the way you could tell? I'll show you. Because if I put it onto Route 6 here, let me grab that and put it here. You see how it won't route it to there? It's stopping and it's trying to double back.
Yeah,
If you see this happen, then exactly what you said would go, I'm gonna delete that. And then we can go to Google Maps and look for it. So let's, that was gonna be fun to find this. So where are we?
Your shape
so
points
we're-
might tell you a bit of
Yeah, 367. Yeah, we're at the intersection of 367 and 6. And I'll get my selection tool. And we are in Tuscarora Township. Say that 3 times fast. Okay, I know about where this is. So now I'm just trying to find. That's 209. Just trying to find 6.
So Steve, I don't know if this will help, but when I run into these situations, I hover over the road and it'll typically give an address. And then I just type the
Type
address
the
into
address?
Google. Type
Okay,
the address into Google Maps and it comes right up.
let's try it.
You can also do longitude and latitude, I think.
Yeah,
is
US 6 and 2nd in Laceyville. So now it's Laceyville and not that other one, so.
Yeah,
Yes.
get off of Route 6, try the
Yeah.
secondary road.
500 Second Street.
There you go.
Good idea, Kevin. All right, so. Oh, look at that. So there is an overpass and we cannot make a turn there. So base camp was smarter than me. But this is the type of stuff we're looking for, right? We don't know this area. So when we see something odd, it's definitely worth investigating. Thanks, Kevin.
No problem.
Yeah, that was stellar.
Yeah.
Good advice.
And I just get that route selected again.
And then on your previous example, where you were making the route consistent in and out.
Yeah.
If you see something like that and you try to change it and it won't let you, a lot of state parks for some reason like to have a one-way in and a one-way out.
Yeah.
And you'll end up, what am I doing wrong? And
Yeah.
it's, again, another reason, like the overpass thing.
Yeah.
It won't let you.
I was actually hoping that it would do that, Marty, to use it as an example, but it let us do it. So, but you are very correct there. All right. So still so far, so
That
good.
area has a lot of dirt roads. Look at that, stone roads.
Yeah, here's another one. And I'm sure instead
Bunch.
of, they must have wanted to go down this way because it's just a nicer ride. But they did force it down here, so we're leaving it. And coming off onto another side road, some nice twisties. Trying to back up. Coming around the lake. Okay, so just, again, just getting down to where we had that detail here so we could see how they're coming back down to the state road. Come past the state park here. Okay, this is good. It's just where it joins up the road. Over to 220, come back over into the state park, out. This is all looking pretty good. And I scanned this the first time when we went through and looking at these, I also scanned it. So most of this did look okay to me, but I want to get it in detail so everybody can see. Did we make our way all the way around? Oh yeah, we actually went all the way around and I started again. Okay.
Yep.
So this is good. This looks pretty good. So we're gonna take this. As Steve mentioned, we want to recalculate when we're all done, just in case there's anything left. There's no harm in that. So I'll right click on the route. I'll come down here to say recalculate selected route. Actually, the last thing we wanted to do is we wanted to create a new ending point. So let's see if there's something in town here at a different spot. How about the Historical Society? Hey, there's probably a parking lot there. And yeah, if we want to know, we could look at it Google Maps. We could take a look. We could end back. We could end back at the gas station. I just wanted to pick someplace else. And I wanted to pick someplace else that wasn't on this route, just so we could see it ending. So I right click on this, say new waypoint. It created my waypoint there. I'm gonna open up my route. Remember, I'll come to the end, say insert. You'll notice when I insert it, it's gonna go above, but that's okay because I'm going to get rid of that last one. And now recalculate. And now we'll see how it starts at the gas station, ends at the Historical Society, The rest of the route is calculated. And our next step is to do what? We now have a route that's ready to go. My next step is to plug in my GPS.
Hey,
Because I'm-
Steve,
Yes.
while you're doing that, I missed a couple of webinars, but I don't know if you talked about this. Occasionally, like the view you have here on this route,
Yes,
occasionally when you're doing when I do custom routes, I may find going through some of the national forest areas, I may find like a couple of hairpin turns, very tight turns on the routes.
okay.
So I add alerts to my routes. I use the foghorn as an icon, and I'll make it as an announced waypoint. They'll
As a
say
warning.
hairpin turn in 500 feet or whatever.
Interesting.
So because sometimes they come up on you and they're not marked when you're out in these rural areas,
Yeah. So let me reiterate what Kevin said. Let's just say you want to create a warning, right? To remind you something's coming up. It's just a waypoint, right? So let's just say we wanted to put a warning before we get to this point. We can grab the waypoint tool and we can drop a waypoint here and change the symbol. So that would be in the maritime, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure where it is, but I use the foghorn thing.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one I use.
Okay. Just as a symbol. And then when we look at that inside our route here, we're gonna make sure that where that is, and we'll find, oh, we didn't insert it yet.
No, you haven't.
So we have to insert that into the route. And that becomes a fun thing because you're gonna see that I'm gonna have to, let me find where that is. And I'll show you the easiest way to do this so that you don't get yourself all messed up. That guy's right there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off center map. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to find that shaping point right there. And I'm gonna want to insert the foghorn before that. So by scanning down or up, right through my list, there it is, right? So that's that point. I want to insert the foghorn before that. So I click my insert button, pick the foghorn, and now that is in my route. And then I would make sure that this is alert, right? Oh, sorry. Alert on arrival. Most of the other ones should be set to don't alert. So this one now will alert and it'll let you'll then look at it and say, oh, that hairpin turn is coming up. Thank you, Kevin. Good pointer. Right. So we answered that in. I'm closing the route. It's going to rebuild or recalculate automatically. I'm going to want to switch to my I'll switch to my other camera in a moment. So my GPS is now connected and Garmin Express automatically started, as well as it opened up an Explorer window to my GPS. Okay. And one of the things I'm going to show is on the memory card inside of Garmin and inside of GPX, this folder is empty. And I'm going to drop this folder in my memory card. And I want to show you where it goes. We're not going to use Garmin Express. So I'm just going to minimize it, keep it in the background. What I want to do is I want to download this route, the Scenic Vista visit from Laporte. So I'm going to make sure I highlight it. I'm going to come up here to the send MAR3 to device. And basically it's going to send the whole item. If I only want to send that, just the route itself and not all the waypoints, I could say here, send to device and send selection. It'll only send the route. But I want all the waypoints too, because I want those waypoints on my GPS as selectable items, just in case I want to be able to navigate to one of them directly without my route. So I'm going to use the tool to say send Mark3 to device. So it's going to send everything into my Mark3 list. If I do that, and then I'm going to say send to the memory card. If you click Zumo XT, it's going to go to internal memory. This will go to the external memory card. And now just click OK to send data to selected device. There's a progress bar here. And when it's done, we get this little check mark right there. So now if I come down and I open up my window and refresh, this is the folder that I'd opened up before, the GPX folder. Now there's a route.gpx and a waypoints.gpx file. When you send routes and waypoints to the GPS using Basecamp, it will call them route.gpx and waypoints.gpx. And if you sent another route, it will be route 1.gpx. And if you send another, it will be route 2. It's not named, so you could tell what they are. It's a downside. I mentioned this very early on. If you really want to do this and have them named in the GPS, what you need to do is export the GPX file to your hard drive, name it on your hard drive, and then drag that into this folder, and it'll put it on the GPS. I don't work that way because, quite honestly, I don't care what it's named, because after my ride is over, I'm going to be removing these files from my GPS anyway. All right, so now this is on the GPS, and what I'm going to do is switch my cameras as soon as I can, so we could go to the GPS. Let me find my camera controls. And it's not seeing my other camera. Yeah, I was having a little bit of a problem the other day with 2 cameras connected.
Maybe you need to unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah, I did that before I started the call. I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna go into Zoom. I may have to do it from Zoom. Let me see.
Yeah, I think that'll work for you, Steve.
Yeah, I have to do it from within Zoom, and I also have to turn off my virtual background. And now let me get the camera set up so you can see it. Okay, so I'm still plugged in using the cord. I need to remove that so I can get access to my GPS. It's going to shut off, and I'm going to restart it. Okay. And hopefully everybody can see that. Let me actually try to focus that a little bit better. Oh, there we go. It did it itself. Nice. That good for you, everybody? Steve, is that good?
I'm trying to spotlight that and make it full screen. I thought I did.
All right, let me get the angle of this better. Maybe I got spotlighted. All right, let me get my controls.
Yeah, I think Steve, stop sharing, and I think it'll get full screen.
So, okay, yeah.
Stop sharing. There we go. Now you're good.
Okay, yeah, as long as I'm talking, it'll stay. We're gonna. Okay.
Looks like it's a little too close to the camera. I don't know.
Nah, it just needs to focus, which I'm gonna go grab the controls again and refocus it.
It's all focused up. There we go. Perfect.
I want to see that. All right, good. Okay, so on the XT. And Steve, can you mute one?
Yeah,
There-
I'll get him.
Okay.
I
thanks.
got him.
But so on the XT and on some of the previous models, the app that's used to run routes is Trip Planner. So we go to the apps, we bring up Trip Planner. And we're gonna come up to the tools right here. Right, so that I hit the tools.
Steve, a question. This may just be differences in GPSs, but when I load a new route, when I fire up my GPS to 595 or to 590, it'll tell me I have routes. Do you wish to import them?
Sometimes it'll do that if it finds it. It doesn't always find it.
Oh, you have it on your external card. That might be the
Yeah.
difference.
And I'm just readjusting my camera because I want to, I need to get it further away just so I can get my fingers in there. And so you can see the whole screen. So give me a moment.
When the routes are on the external card, you typically have to import them, but when they're on the internal memory, you should get a prompt when you fire up the GPS that says, do you want to import?
Yeah. Right. It's gonna be a little bit distorted because my GPS is on an angle and the camera is not quite to the same angle, but I'm just trying to get this.
That's all right. You ever try to read one when you're riding 80 miles an hour? It's something like that.
All right, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. All right. I'll just refocus. All right, so what I did is use the 3 bars here, that's the menu. And then on this menu, I have import. So I'm gonna click import. It searched, it found something to import. So I'm gonna choose that and I'm gonna say import.
I was going to mention that to you earlier. It looked to me like you had too many waypoints in your route.
Yeah, which is really weird because usually this works with that many, but that's fine. Because I've never had a problem. You know what it is? Because it's treating them as waypoints, not as vias. But it's saying vias, and I've never had it split.
Yeah,
But
Steve, you may want to go back and just take a look at how that was laid out, because I'm curious about that, and then ultimately how to fix that.
yeah,
Because if I was doing this, I would stop right now and say something's not right.
right.
I would go
But
back and fix it.
but from the demonstration purpose of how to import it, how to use it, I think this is actually really good because we'll see it. I agree with you. I would go back as well and try to figure out what it is and fix it.
Well, you just need to convert those waypoints into shaping points.
Yeah, but for demonstration purposes, this is fine. Because all we're really doing is showing how to get it down. So I'm gonna say, well, thanks for the notice here. Okay. And we'll see. There's scenic visit from Laporte 2 and 1, and then that's a route that was already on my GPS. So if I want to run it when I'm out there, I would click the first one because that's the first part. It's coming up. It shows me information so I could scroll through and see all the points. I can bring up the toolbar, right? If I want to share it with somebody, if there's another GPS nearby, we'll share Bluetooth. I can set my route preferences, faster time, Garmin Adventure route is a straight line. Again, shorter distance. As I mentioned, I tend to use faster time, and I let the route itself control it. Suggest attractions? No, I don't want anything. optimize order, view turn. So these are all the things that you could do with your route, but I've controlled my route the way I wanted it to inside of Basecamp. So I'm not doing any of this. I could look at it on the map. And it'll show it to me on the map. And so they're the two legs. And oddly, it broke it up in two legs, but it didn't. I don't know what happened there with that gap. Not that, and again, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to ride this. I'm going to go back and figure this out. And by next week, I'll report back what I found. And if we're going to ride this, again, remember, we would have to be at that gas station to start, but all I need to do is click go at this point. And I want to start from the LaPorte General Store. And I can get, then I just hit OK and it's going to go. You could also, if you're near the LaPorte General Store but not at it, you could also click closest entry point, and let's just say you're already started riding, but you haven't gotten to the store, or maybe you passed the store. Closest entry point would also get you right onto the route. Now, if I had the GPS in simulator mode, I could show this and actually let it run. So let's take a look at that. I'm trying to remember where that was. It's in settings. Nav. There it is, GPS simulator. I'll turn that on. Go back to trip planner. Save trip. One. Go. I'm going to start from the store. Okay. It's calculating the route. And there we are.
That was just part one of the route. That's why it
Yeah.
stopped there.
Yeah. Okay. So it's pretending that that's where we are, right? And I can say start. And it says simulate driving. You say yes, and watch. We can let the GPS drive the route for us. And I remember that there are controls that we could actually speed that up. I just don't remember what they are. Because I don't use the simulator all that often. Steve, anybody remember? Steve?
Well, number one, that's cheaper than buying gas. And
No, do you remember what
you
the
don't have to
commands are?
ride.
Remember what the commands are to speed this up?
Yeah, that's actually something I don't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah,
Google
that's something else I'll look into and report back on.
I think you have to go back into the settings, Steve, to,
Yeah, my old GPS, I was able to do it on the fly. But I'm gonna look into that. I'll let everybody know. This is probably something that very few people are gonna use because, yeah, it just don't find much value to it. It's, for me, it's just entertainment watching it, and it's boring. So that was the whole process of grabbing a route from somewhere, downloading it onto my computer, importing it into Basecamp, into a list, checking that all the vias and waypoints are on roads, checking that the roads are following the roads I want, not going off onto side roads, recalculating it, downloading it to the GPS, going to the GPS, importing that into the trip, and then running that particular trip.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you we're at that part where you could say fastest route or the other options, would the change in those parameters actually change the route that you'd already carefully
could.
put together?
It could, yes.
And
Yeah,
so
but-
how do you avoid that?
So if you remember when we created the routes in Basecamp, all the settings were for fastest route. So the way you avoid it, and it's a good question. One is I use fastest route in the GPS. The other thing is, put more vias, more shaping points to keep it forced to your route. So regardless of how you set the GPS, whether you choose shortest distance or fastest, it will always go through your shaping points. So if you create a route and find out that when you're out riding it, it jumps, you're gonna need to put more of them closer together.
Steve, there are
Yeah.
two issues with that. One is if the maps don't match up, sometimes you'll end up having a different route. And second, if you get off the route at all and the system is on auto recalculate, you could then end up with a whole new route.
So
What
that's-
I've done is I transform the route into a track first, and then import the track onto my GPS. And it won't recalculate anything.
So your point about different maps shouldn't happen if you recalculated in Basecamp using your maps. It only happens if you take a GPX file and put it directly onto your unit and try to run it without recalculating it for your map.
I'm thinking of the situation where you're gonna share it with a lot of people.
So the point there then, and Dave put it up there, what you could do is before, on the GPS, what you're gonna do is you wanna set no to recalculate. There is a setting for that. And then you don't allow it to recalculate automatically. You turn that auto recalculation off.
Yeah, I think that was a good point. If you're creating a route for yourself, maybe you don't need to be as precise because you kind of know where you're going or where you want it to go. It's when you're making them for other people. If you don't want people bitching at you in the parking lot or the restaurant when you're done about, hey, how comes we got lost? You want to spend a few extra minutes and try to get it as universal as you can. And I agree with what Steve said, the more shaping points you put on there, the more precise your route.
Yeah.
So, and Steve, I think we owe it to the guys to go back and just look at that shaping point, waypoint issue and
Yeah.
how we change those.
So before I forget, because we're coming up to the hour, and since we're talking about GPSs, and this came up in the last meeting, Bruce Gilman, who couldn't make it tonight, he emailed me before the session started and wanted to pass on that contact at the GPS store told him that the XT should be on sale next week. He had no other details other than that. So if anybody's out there thinking about an XT, go to the gpsstore.com or any other GPS place that's your favorite place to buy it. Because usually when one puts it on sale, they all put it on sale. So that's, all right. So Steve, what did you want to do? Go say that again. You want to go back to the route?
Go back to the routes and let's try to fix the massive amount of waypoints that was
Okay.
talking about.
Yep. All right,
And
so
we should
round-
also turn off the announcements on a lot of those.
Yeah.
And there again, this is what you need to do when you're leveraging somebody else's route, trying to use it. You want to look for weird stuff that's going to ruin your ride. Because I know when I first started, I just blindly loaded them up and then kind of got frustrated sometimes.
Right. So if we're going to
Didn't
turn
work
off,
the way I thought it would.
yeah, so if we're going to turn off all of those, we'll do that first. And I don't think you could do them in a batch, right? Because you can't
You
select more
might be
than
able to
one.
hold the
No,
control,
it's,
maybe.
You
I
can't.
don't know.
it's individually.
You could do this, you use the shift key, but when you go here to, oh, it does work. You can't do it with the control key. But if you select one, hold down the shift key and do down arrow, then right click on one of these and say don't alert. Bazinga. Hey Kevin, what do you think of that? Probably doesn't work.
I don't
on
think
Mac.
I can do that on the Mac.
Yeah.
It's
But
always
on-
been individually, but I'll check that next time
Yeah. This is the first time I'm trying this because I've never really needed to do a block home like this, but this is good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So
Every-
why have you done that? And what's the effect of turning off the alerts?
well, then these, because without turning these off, every time I pass one of these via, it's gonna say, you've arrived at your destination, or you've arrived at 14 Highway 154. It'll announce it. Now it won't announce it.
It'll still tell you when a turn's coming up, though?
Oh, yeah, that's different. It just
Yes.
won't announce your via or waypoint, because if these are unannounced, it treats them as waypoints and it will announce it. So basically, it'll ding and it'll say you've arrived at,
Steve, I
Yeah,
just checked
Go ahead.
Basecamp.
yeah,
I just checked Basecamp on the Mac. And yes, you can do it as a group.
good. Okay, so.
I
another
always
feature.
all right.
do it individually as I step through, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's good to
Yeah,
know.
It's, good to know.
So,
Is the alert
Steve, what
on?
was it actually squawking about with the waypoints?
It said that we
Breaking
had
up
more,
into
said-
two,
it said that we had more than 29, which doesn't make sense to me
Where-
because
where are they? Because I'm trying to figure out
right here, these are
what
it,
it was.
right here.
But those
So-
weren't those were shaping points, not waypoints.
Yeah, but they were announcing, and it did complain about, vias. So what I need to do is re-download this after doing this, because I've never seen that message on the routes I create, and I would have this many vias. So it may be because they were announcing and they were being treated as
Okay.
waypoints. So,
Yeah, does anybody else know? Because I'm confused by that. You might be right, Steve, but I don't know, something doesn't sound right there.
Yeah, well, some GPS, I'm not familiar with the XT, but some GPS units have a limitation on how many waypoints you can have.
Yeah, but that's my question though. I don't see those as waypoints, so I don't know what it's yelling about. That's what I'm
I
Well,
think it
confused
has,
no,
it
no,
may
in-
really
in-
have something
in
to
ba-
do with the fact that it's Thursday.
No, in Basecamp,
about.
in Basecamp, anything that announces is considered a waypoint. So you have waypoints and
Okay.
you have shaping points. So waypoints and veers would be the same thing in Basecamp if they're announcing.
Okay, I'll buy that.
see, and this right here is what confuses me. I had 29 and my XT can have 1,000 waypoints. So that's not the issue here. So something else is up with that route that the GPS didn't like.
Do they mean 1,000 total?
No. Need to find out, but usually they use waypoints as waypoints and shaping points are shaping points.
Is the alert on, or the announcement on the default position?
Yes,
So you have to go in and turn those off if you don't want to hear it every time you go by a waypoint or a shaping point.
correct. At least check it, because sometimes I've seen them come off when I would expect them to be on by default. It's almost like that Basecamp is doing its own thing, and I don't know if it's remembering what I used the last time and then creating it that way, but it is what it is.
So
Uh,
Steve, it'll be interesting to see what you find out, but I've never heard of any GPS that would allow 1,000 waypoints on a particular route. So my sense is that what you're reading there is that the internal memory of your XP, what is it?
XT.
Allows 1,000 waypoints, not 1,000 on a route. But you'll have to,
That's the way I read it too.
yeah, you'll have to figure that, see if that's true.
We'll look at that.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, now that you made that change, you just want to quickly try to load that again, see if you get the same
Yeah.
error.
Yep. I had to plug my GPS in before I could do that, so.
Okay.
And here's gonna be the problem, because now there's gonna be duplicates on there, so we're gonna see how it looks. So everybody will get to see it. So I just downloaded it without getting rid of the old ones. Unplug my GPS. Switch my camera.
And you need to stop sharing. I sh- I'm going to just say, I think we're all right now, but we'll find out.
And so notice I now have Scenic this from Laporte 1. That's the new one I just loaded. So I'm gonna grab that, import it. Let's see if it, and it
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
not complain. So the
Yeah.
one we're gonna do is really weird. Oh, so there's only one route. So really the one that, the new one is this Laporte 1, 2, right? Because 1 and 2 were the ones from before.
Yeah, I think so.
This
Yeah.
is the new one. Let's take a look at the map.
So I
and-
think Kevin's the one that called that correctly. They were interpreting the announcing shaping points as
As
waypoints. So
waypoints.
As
Yeah.
soon as you took that off, it was fine.
And I'll have to look at that. It may be 29 waypoints. 29 waypoints is an awful lot for a route. I mean, you really don't ever use 29 waypoints. And that's why early on when we talked about this, I always said waypoints are typically used for start, endpoints, and any POIs that you want on your route. But you use shaping points for everything else to get your route to go where you want to do. But I'm gonna double check the XT manual on that. So there's our route. If we want to say go. And I don't have the simulator turned on, but I'm just gonna do it and we'll see what it does, even though I'm not in Pennsylvania. But it'll do its same thing, calculating the route. It may bark because we're nowhere near the starting point. Oh, nope, I'm gonna have to ride all the way from here to there to get to my starting point. And then I
Better
can
get
ride the route.
started.
To get started, yep. And if I start. There we go, and I don't. And the simulator turned off when I reset my GPS to download. So
So
it's.
Steve,
Yes,
hi, it's Kevin again. I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. So I have I don't have an XT. I have a Garmin Navigator 6.
okay,
It's
the BMW,
it's a BMW Navigator 6 made by Garmin.
yes,
So I've been looking at the manual. It's limited to 29, they call them via points, but in the Basecamp language, they're waypoints. So it's limited to 29 waypoints and 125 shaping points on
Okay.
any particular route.
okay, and that's probably the same on here since this barked at it as well.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna double check it. I'll open up my XT manual when we're done here and I'm gonna look at that. Yeah, I've never hit this before because I don't route like that. So I wouldn't know the error because I've never seen it. So good to know. All right,
Yeah.
so that was our whole process from beginning to end, getting a route and starting to write it, fixing errors along the way. Questions on what we did this evening?
I just have a comment. I always learn something on these sessions, so that's good.
Oh, yeah, same here.
I only have a comment as well. And that's that when you made that waypoint that you wanted to announce, I would suggest also changing the name to what it is you're trying to announce so that you don't actually have to see the screen. It'll actually, if you're listening to the GPS, it'll say approaching sharp curve.
Right.
Yeah, and I do that. I didn't mention that to Steve, but I'll
Yeah,
for that particular one, I would say, hip in turn 300 feet ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full
And
disclosure, I actually put those in occasionally when I know there's a state police barracks or some other law enforcement agency coming up.
Yeah, and I would have renamed it, but just for expediency,
Yeah.
I just left it. All right, any other questions, comments before I end the recording? We could stay around and kibitz after that
Where are these recordings available? I missed a couple of sessions.
on the web. Yeah. So
On the
let's-
web.